Let me tell you about the most expensive word in the English language. It's not yes. It's the inability to say no. Every time you fail to say no when you should, you're writing a check with your time, energy, and peace of mind that you can't afford to cash. Today, we're talking about 7 things you should always say no to, no matter how guilty you feel, no matter who's asking, no matter what voice in your head tells you to just go along with it. Here's the truth nobody wants to admit. Saying yes when you mean no is a form of self-betrayal. It's choosing everyone else's comfort over your own well-being. And the cost? Burnout, resentment, lost opportunities, and a life that looks nothing like what you actually want. But here's the beautiful thing. No is a complete sentence. You don't need to justify it, explain it, or apologize for it. Once you understand what deserves your no, you'll finally have space for the things that deserve your yes. 1. Say no to relationships that require you to shrink. Always say no to any relationship, romantic, platonic, or professional, that requires you to make yourself smaller. You know the ones I'm talking about, where your success makes them uncomfortable, where your opinions need to be watered down, where your personality is too much and needs to be toned down, where you find yourself apologizing for your achievements or downplaying your dreams. These relationships are soul crushers disguised as connections. They operate on the principle that there's limited space, and for them to feel big, you need to stay small. Maybe it's the friend who gets weird when good things happen to you, the partner who feels threatened by your ambitions, the family member who says you've changed every time you grow. Here's what staying in these relationships costs you: your potential. Every moment you spend dimming your light to make someone else comfortable is a moment you're not spending becoming who you're meant to be. You start to internalize their limitations as your own. You begin to believe that maybe you are too much, too ambitious, too loud, too successful. The people who truly belong in your life will celebrate your growth, not feel threatened by it. They'll push you to be more yourself, not less. They'll be inspired by your success, not intimidated by it. If someone needs you to shrink for them to feel secure, that's their insecurity to deal with, not your burden to carry. 2. Say no to being on call. 24 hours a day. Always say no to the expectation that you should be constantly available. We live in a world where everyone expects immediate responses to texts, emails, calls, and messages, where seen notifications create obligations, where your boss thinks evenings and weekends are just work-from-home extensions, where friends get offended if you don't reply within hours. This constant availability is destroying our ability to focus, to be present, to have any kind of inner life. You are not customer service for everyone in your life. You're not required to be perpetually accessible. Your phone is a tool for your convenience, not a leash for others to pull whenever they want your attention. Set boundaries around your availability and stick to them. Don't answer work emails after hours unless it's genuinely an emergency. And hint, it almost never is. Don't feel obligated to immediately respond to every text. Take time to disconnect completely. Your relationships won't crumble because you took 3 hours to reply to a message. And if they do, they were too fragile to begin with. The people who matter will respect your boundaries. They'll understand that your lack of immediate response doesn't mean you don't care. It means you have a life. The peace that comes from not being constantly on is invaluable. Protect it fiercely. 3. Say no to toxic family obligations. Always say no to the idea that family is a free pass for abuse, manipulation, or disrespect. This might be the hardest no on this list, but it's often the most necessary. Society tells us that blood is thicker than water, that family comes first, that you have to forgive family no matter what. But here's the truth. Sharing DNA with someone doesn't give them the right to treat you poorly. Maybe it's the parent who still treats you like a child at 40, the sibling who only calls when they need money, the relative whose presence means walking on eggshells, the family gatherings that leave you drained for weeks, the guilt trips, the emotional manipulation. the expectation that you'll always be there regardless of how you're treated. You can love someone and still have boundaries. You can wish them well from a distance. You can choose your own peace over family dysfunction. This doesn't make you selfish or ungrateful. It makes you someone who values their mental health. You didn't choose your family, but you can choose how much access they have to your life. Creating boundaries with toxic family members might mean limiting contact, skipping certain gatherings, or in extreme cases, cutting contact entirely. Yes, other family members might not understand. Yes, you might be painted as the villain, but your mental health is worth more than maintaining a facade of family harmony. 4. Say no to working for exposure. Always say no to anyone who wants your professional skills for free with the promise of exposure or future opportunities. This includes the friend who wants you to design their website for portfolio building. The startup that can't pay but promises equity that'll definitely be worth something someday. The influencer who wants your products for free in exchange for a post to their followers. Your skills have value. Your time has value. Your expertise has value. Anyone who truly respects what you do will be willing to pay for it. Exposure doesn't pay bills. You can't eat future opportunities. And most of the time, these promises lead nowhere except to more requests for free work. Here's what accepting these deals really does. It sets a precedent that your work isn't worth paying for. It attracts more people looking for free labor. It prevents you from taking on actual paying work. And perhaps worst of all, it diminishes your own perception of your value. You start to believe that maybe your work isn't worth much after all. If someone can't afford your services, they can't afford your services. That's not your problem to solve by working for free. The only exposure that matters is the kind that comes with a check. 5. Say no to comparisons that steal your joy. Always say no to the comparison game. Whether it's comparing your life to others' highlight reels on social media, your career progression to your peers, or your relationship to someone else's. Comparison is a thief that will rob you blind of contentment, gratitude, and peace. It'll convince you that you're behind, lacking, failing, when you might actually be exactly where you need to be. The problem with comparison is that it's never fair. You're comparing your behind the scenes with everyone else's highlight reel. You're comparing your chapter 3 to someone else's chapter 20. You're comparing your struggles, which you know intimately, with others' successes, which you see superficially. Every moment you spend wishing you had someone else's life is a moment you're not appreciating your own. Every time you diminish your achievements because someone else has more, you're poisoning your own well of satisfaction. Someone will always have more money, a better job, a happier-looking relationship, more talented kids. So what? Their success doesn't diminish yours. Your only competition should be who you were yesterday. Your only measure should be your own growth. Say no to the scroll that makes you feel inadequate. Say no to conversations that are just comparison contests. Say no to the voice that says you should be further along by now. 6. Say no to sacrificing your health for success. Always say no to the idea that destroying your health is the price of success. The hustle culture that glorifies sleeping 4 hours a night. The job that requires you to skip meals and cancel doctor's appointments. The lifestyle that has you running on caffeine and adrenaline. The mentality that self-care is selfish and rest is for the weak. Your body is not a machine you can run into the ground and replace. Burnout isn't a badge of honor. It's a warning sign you've ignored too many other warning signs. No job, no amount of money, no achievement is worth sacrificing your physical or mental health. Because without your health, none of those achievements matter anyway. The most successful people in the long term understand that health is wealth. They prioritize sleep, exercise, proper nutrition, and mental health. They know that taking care of themselves isn't separate from their success. It's fundamental to it. You can't pour from an empty cup, and you can't build an empire from a hospital bed. 7. Say no to your own limiting beliefs. Always say no to the stories you tell yourself about what you can't do, who you can't become, what you don't deserve. These internal no's are often the most destructive because they come from within. The voice that says you're not smart enough, attractive enough, talented enough, young enough, old enough. The belief that good things happen to other people, not you. These limiting beliefs become self-fulfilling prophecies. When you believe you can't, you don't really try. When you don't really try, you fail. When you fail, it confirms your belief that you can't. It's a vicious cycle that keeps you trapped in a life smaller than you're capable of living. Start saying no to these internal narratives. No to, I could never do that. No to, that's just not who I am. No to, it's too late for me. No to every story that keeps you small, scared, and stuck. These beliefs aren't facts. They're just thoughts you've had so many times they feel true. Here's what happens when you start saying no to these 7 things. Your life begins to align with your actual values. You stop living by default and start living by design. You stop being everything to everyone and start being something meaningful to yourself. Saying no isn't about being negative or difficult. It's about being selective. It's about recognizing that your time, energy, and attention are finite resources that should be invested, not spent recklessly. Every no to the wrong thing is a yes to the right thing. Every boundary you set is a declaration of your worth. The people who matter will respect your no. The opportunities meant for you won't require you to sacrifice your integrity or well-being. The life you want is on the other side of all the no's you've been afraid to say. What have you been saying yes to that deserves a no? What boundaries do you need to set? What's the hardest no you need to say? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if this video gave you the permission you needed to start saying no, subscribe for more content about living authentically and protecting your peace. Remember, no is a complete sentence, and you don't need anyone's permission to use it.